So what are you going to bring to the potluck? It's the season for potluck parties where even the best dishes go bad. It's my potluck party tips today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. This is the weekly show for the methods, the techniques, the insights into better food and cooking. And we're live every Tuesday at noon Eastern. You can find past videos on the archive on Facebook if you go to facebook.com/chef.todd.more/videos. And if you want to see what I'm cooking, I'm not on Facebook, I guess. Go to instagram.com/chef.todd.more. Clams in white sauce last night. Oh my goodness, it was so good, so easy to do also, but so delicious. Like better than the restaurants I used to go to. How, might I ask, do you cook better than the restaurants that you used to go to? Well, if you're a carefree cook, you create your own recipes. And this brings friends and family together. You wind up learning every time you cook, creating your own cooking style, and it all just comes from practicing pro methods. You wind up loving your cooking. I gotta tell you some bit of honesty this holiday season. You're gonna be judged. People are going to judge you. Now, I hate to think that. I love to think everybody is kind and open-hearted, but no, you're going to be judged. And I'm sorry to say that even if you have the nicest friends, the nicest co-workers, the nicest church congregants, they're not going to judge you for the person that you are. That's not what I'm saying, but you know they're going to judge that dish that you bring to the potluck party. And you do it. Admit it. You know there's an eye roll in the office when Sally brings the same nacho dip every year, right? Somebody's got that nacho dip they ripped out of a magazine. Oh, there's Sally's nacho dip. Well, look, that's why we have to talk about how to survive and even conquer potluck parties today. But first, I've got a true or false for you. Here it is. True or false? White chocolate is made with unroasted cocoa beans. Tell me in the comments section below, is that statement true or false? White chocolate, unroasted cocoa beans. Okay, so maybe I am a bit cynical. Some might say that about me, or maybe I'm just competitive when it comes to cooking as a chef. But when I'm asked to bring something to the potluck party, I give it a lot of thought. You know, all right, maybe I have a reputation to protect or something, but you know, I'm not the guy who signs up to bring the plates and the napkins. That's always the first line on the sign-up sheet, right? Plates and napkins, somebody totally opting out. And I see the disappointment in people's eyes when they see that the paper goods are already taken. Oh, damn, I can't bring the napkins this year. And they're going to have to go to the party store and the grocery store to buy a party tray or something. I don't know. Party tray, you know, with the little baby carrots and ranch dressing. Yeah, that's not me either. I'm not napkins and plates, and I'm not party tray. I'm a carefree cook, and I want to stand out in the horrible mess that is a potluck party. And today, since we have a worldwide audience, I'm not sure if everybody knows what potluck is. I don't know that it's a phrase used everywhere. Does everybody know? Do you know what I'm talking about? If you don't, potluck refers to a casual event where each attendee contributes to the overall menu presentation. It's a buffet where you come and put your item on the buffet. It's a communal buffet, and that's good. But that's also really, really bad because potluck often just generates this random gathering of dishes from all different cooking methods and all different levels of cooking skills. But potluck dinners can also carry a themed menu where you're challenged to create something consistent with that theme. There's all different ways that you can help this horrible potluck mess. So let's review the 8 potluck party tips that are going to help you stand out amongst the clutter at your holiday potluck party this year. So everybody, remember, if you're not sure what this is, I know you must. I know I have a worldwide audience, but everywhere people have got to be contributing to holiday meals. So the first tip I have for you in holiday potluck success is that unless you supply a chafing dish or a method to keep your dish hot, be aware that your dish is going to sit on a table for the entire length of the party. It's going to get cold. It's going to dry out. It's going to be portioned recklessly by those those animals at the self-serve buffet, what they're doing to my food. You should always prepare dishes that may look and taste as good cold or warm, right? Prepare dishes that are already portioned. We've talked about this year. Prepare dishes by the each, if you can, rather than by the spoonful, and have a method to keep your dish covered to avoid drying out. So the first thing is this idea, let me go back one. The first thing is, this isn't plate up, right? Last week we talked about 9 service styles for holiday parties. Nobody is coming to a potluck and is going to stand behind and do plate up or bring a carving station. I might, right? I get invited to a potluck, I bring a carving station, the tall chef's hat and everything, the hot lights. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Although it's a good idea. Nonetheless, keep in mind that there is constant degradation sitting on that buffet. Figure out a way. This is what your lazy cooker is for, the crock pot or some kind of warming tray, or just something that is as good hot or cold, or just forget it, something that is cold. The second thing to remember is that your dish is going to travel. You're going to prepare the dish at home in your kitchen, then you're going to transport it. So this is the caterer's lament. As someone who owned a catering company for many years, you want as little degradation from my kitchen into my truck out to the event as possible. There is so much potential for loss of quality in transit. Number one, I tried never to prepare items with loose sauces that would shift and spill. You don't see a lot of soup being served, right, on a buffet. You don't see things laying in heavy sauce because it makes it very messy. It makes it very splashy. The other thing is no fried items, no puff pastry items. They quickly get soggy in transport. If you take something out of the oven that is crispy and crunchy and baked good kind of thing, and you try to keep it warm in a sealed container, the moisture fills the container, the dough absorbs the moisture, and it gets really mushy. Nothing fried can be transported. But consider cooking the item without some of the finished touches, and then adding them before service, right? So if you're doing a lasagna, which is a really good idea. Casseroles are a good idea. They stay hot for a longer time. Remember, glass dishes are the best retainers of heat. They're not the best conductors of heat. They're the best retainers of heat. And if you have something that can insulate that glass tray as well, towels or some kind of a cooler type material, you can keep it from going bad that long. But if I started to say lasagna, if you make your lasagna and then when you get to the potluck, maybe there's a broiler there. You could then put the cheese on, put it underneath, and make the final touch, the final garnishing, make it fresher. My third tip for holiday potluck is keep in mind you are never going to see that bowl again. You are never going to see the bowl, the serving spoon, the things that you brought. And it's so tacky to hang around to the end. Well, I really got to go home, but hey, are you done with that? Can I get my spoon? Or to make it even worse, when you're leaving early, I've seen people, they scrape their potluck contribution onto a paper plate, leave it in the middle, and then just take off with their bowl. Look, it's a good idea to visit your party store. Get appropriate disposable items that you don't mind leaving behind. Otherwise, you're sitting there scraping things into Tupperware at the end of the night, or even tackier. I had somebody do this once. Can you believe a person would call me the next day and say, hey, I know there was chicken on the buffet yesterday and I paid for that chicken as a caterer. Can I come by and pick it up today? Yeah, that's not how it works. And you don't want to call the host of your potluck party like, hey, was there any of my chicken left? Can I come get it? I know people that have done that personally and professionally. Here's a good tip that I always adhere to is bring signage. You know, everybody has the ability to print something nice and pretty on your computer. Make a little tent type sign, name the ingredients in your dish, give it a name. You know, maybe amazing chicken. Like give it something that'll sell it a little bit. Tell the ingredients. You get a little card stock paper, you fold it in a tent and you write the thing and put it next to it. Because the signage is going to alert people potentially that have food allergies. If you're cooking with peanuts, if you're cooking with things, soy, things that people are really allergic to, be sure that you're alerting to them as well. And I also think that signage can really heighten the anticipation of your dish. It can excite people with the name, with the ingredients. You put a lot of adjectives in there, you know? Make it a menu description that you might see in one of your finest restaurants. Oh, lightly sauteed with a sprinkling of such and such. Put it on there. It's going to sell your item for sure. My fifth tip is presentation. Oh my goodness, it's a chef's nightmare. All right, a potluck buffet is a very messy place. It's got mismatched bowls. It's got uncoordinated colors and ingredients. It's got shuffled courses, right? The creamed green spinach sits right next to the chocolate cherry squares on the buffet. You know, entree and dessert next to each other. And I just hope nobody thinks the cream spinach is a sauce for the chocolate cake. That would be really gross. But you can add to the visual appeal of your dish with colored napkins, right? Bring something that would set it out. The correct garniture. Make sure you have the right garnish. Maybe you have complementing items that are a little bit more special. Special crackers for the dip or spread, you know? Leave the Ritz crackers at home, okay? Don't bring Ritz crackers to a potluck buffet. Now's the time to go out and buy some fancy up crackers for your dip. Keep in mind that you might have to be refreshing your dip. This is a good idea as well. You're still responsible for it. Just because you brought it to Aunt Sally's potluck party and you put it on the table, hey, I don't know anything about it at this point. You know, you're still responsible for it. So be prepared to regarnish. You know, maybe if it gets picked through, you stir to reincorporate it. Maybe you simply replace the dish with a second portion, you know, to keep it looking really nicely presented. Oh, darn. That's what happens when you push the wrong button. I already said that. Yeah, refreshing your dish. You might have to garnish, stir, or even replace a second portion to keep it newly presented. We've talked about this a few times over the holiday also. Individual ramekins of things. Smaller tarts rather than one big quiche. If you want to bring quiche to an event, instead of the 8 or 9 inch quiche, how about bring 3 or 4 small ones? Again, we're going to talk about portioning, but that keeps them fresher, right? It's better to bring 2 or 3 small dishes to replenish than have one huge overflowing pan that gets all picked through by the end of the evening. Tip number 7 for the potluck party you've already seen is try and be as original as possible. Your offering at the potluck dinner could be duplicated by somebody else, right? It would be almost as embarrassing as wearing the same blue dress as everyone else at the party. So it might be a good idea to leave the canned turkey fried onions off your dish because I'm betting somebody else is going to put it on theirs. Be as creative as possible. Put a twist on something and do something, you know, from your heart. This is something that we enjoy every Friday night. This is a original recipe from my grandma. This is a traditional holiday thing. Don't just rip it out of the magazine and give it a shot for the first time. My last tip, don't overproduce. This is the biggest mistake people make. You don't have to cook full portions for every guest at the event. This is a mistake people make. Keep in mind, everybody is going to be bringing food for more than one person. So you're only going to need small portions of food for each person. Think about this. If there are 20 people at the event, there are 20 different items to eat. Each person is bringing more than one person's amount of food. Think about this. If 20 people each brought only one person's amount of food, then each of those 20 people would be fed and there'd be no leftovers. Well, that's not how it works. Each person brings 20 people's worth of food. So 20 people times 20 people's worth of food, it is a catering event for 400 people, but only 20 of them are there. So you do not need to bring food enough, an entire entree for every single person. Let me give you some guidelines. So we're halving or even a thirding, 30% of the advice I've given you in the past. 2 ounces of protein, like beef, chicken, pork, shrimp, things like that. 1 ounce of vegetables. If you're bringing the broccoli florets and carrot stick tray, trust me, I have donated so much of that stuff to farmers, compost, and food banks when it's appropriate because they just don't eat it. It's 1 ounce of vegetables, 2 ounces of starch per person for a potluck party. So if you have rice or pasta or so on, don't worry. It's not going to run out of food. And I'll tell you, it's a compliment if your dish is gone first. That gets attention. Like, hey, what was this? Oh, that was Sally's cream spinach with chocolate cake underneath. It went so quickly. Look, there's still so much fun and so much exciting cooking ahead of us in the next few weeks because this is the time of year to show off your cooking skills. The things that you've been studying all year long, working on your methods, becoming the carefree cook that you always thought you could be, now's the time to show off. So bring a few close friends together or volunteer to help with somebody else's party as safely as you can under the circumstances into what's tolerant for everyone else. Get the expert's advice. But when you can cook, you always make other people happy, even if it is in the mess of a table with other people's chocolate cherry squares next to cream spinach. And this really is the time of year to make other people happy because it makes you feel good, right? Think about what giving your cooking does. Not only for other people, but think about what it does for you. When you can give away your creativity and your skill, now's the time of year to start doing that. Speaking of which, let's see who's getting ready for holiday party season in the Carefree Cooks community. This is our private community on Facebook for all students enrolled in any Chef Todd Moore course. So what do we got? Well, first, this caught my eye as I'm scrolling through. I scroll. Tom whipped up one of my favorite dishes. This is shrimp and grits. It's something that I didn't discover till I moved to North Carolina as an adult. Not something I grew up on, but it's awesome. But this one in particular, that's not just your basic cheesy grits there. It's got ham and smoked sausage to contrast against the shellfish. After scrolling, I sit there and stared and kept saying to myself, ham, smoked sausage, and shrimp. It was like a trance. It was incredible. I could just taste it. I'm going to have to do that. Thanks, Tom. More seafood on the menu. I guess I got caught up in seafood going through. Dusty is flexing his muscles. Wrong kind. But anyway, mussels, cherry tomatoes, penne pasta, and some gorgeous looking garlic bread to sop up off all that sauce. I love that kind of dish. That's great. I guess it's all warm seafood dishes that caught my eye this week. This is a great winter seafood dish from Paul. But the reason that I wanted to highlight this, it's because of his perfectly carefree description of this dish that I really loved, and I'm going to read his words from this post verbatim, okay? Here we go, quote unquote. I love this. Friday night, I wasn't in the mood to think about dinner, but I did think about some sea bass that I still had in the freezer. I thought about some cooked shrimp that my wife accidentally bought, and then I thought about a can of northern white beans in the pantry and some bacon. And then I thought about that pesto that I froze a few weeks ago when my basil season was ending. So it's so nice to have to not have to think about dinner. I thought about this and I thought about that, and it's not, I blew the punchline. I'm sorry, Paul. But yeah, that's what Carefree cooks do. Great post, Paul. Thank you so much. I love that description. I thought about this. I thought about that. I thought about having this in my pantry, and then I started thinking about how that might come together, and it was like I didn't even have to think about dinner. And that's what Carefree cooking is all about, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, and this is the time of year that you need it the most. It's not about the written recipe. It's not about finding that holiday recipe. It's not how you measure the ingredients. It's not about the oven temperature or how long you cook something. It's got nothing to do with leaving it out on the counter overnight to defrost. It has even little to do with the herbs and spices that you use. That doesn't solve or ruin good or bad cooking. It all comes down to how you cook, not what you cook. This holiday season, focus on how you cook, and the what you cook will take care of itself. Because once you're confident in the dependable and repeatable methods of cooking, you don't ever have to think about cooking again. It just happens. It just kind of comes out of you. That's what happens. Let's get back to the true or false. Here we go. So what about it? White chocolate, unroasted cocoa beans, right? No, the answer is false. And as a matter of fact, white chocolate is not chocolate. It's not chocolate at all. The definition of chocolate, it's got to have the cocoa solids from the cacao. White chocolate is an emulsification of cocoa fat, milk, and vanilla. It's held together with lecithin, an emulsifier. So it's not chocolate because it's missing the cocoa mass. So it has nothing to do with roasting cocoa beans at all. Cocoa beans don't really come near white chocolate. Hey, look, if you know someone who's headed to the office, the neighborhood, or the church potluck, they need some advice, maybe you should share this video with them. Or, you know what? Go ahead and post it on your company's company-wide internet system. The boss won't mind. I don't think you'll get in trouble at all. That way, maybe you'll be helping the office potluck this year. Oh, and speaking of which, if you're serious about wanting to create the best holiday meal ever with precision and confidence without stressing out over the holiday dinner and feeling like the caterer instead of a family member, register now for my free online class that'll show you exactly how to plan, cook, bake, coordinate, time out, and even use the leftovers creatively when you go to webcookingclasses.com/success for my free holiday cooking success class, just in time for all this holiday cooking coming up, and it's ending soon. Obviously, we don't bring the holiday cooking success class back in July, so this is the once a year time that you have to take this free class. So until next Tuesday, where we take even more steps toward cracking that Carefree Cooks Code, this is Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a method to your holiday cooking success. Bye, everyone.